Hey everyone, it's Bina007 here for another movie review, and it's been a bit of a while. Have been watching some interesting films, but we're in that lull between all of last year's awards-worthy films coming out and next year's. So today we're going to discuss Warfare and Sinners, which are two movies coming out in the UK and US this weekend. And I'm super excited because I am joined by fellow viewer and cine nerd Kai.
Hi, hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself maybe by giving, I don't know, like a few of your favorite films or your favorite genre so people can know
Yeah,
what to expect?
sure, okay. Well, I'm Kai. I'm a big horror fan. I don't know. I just there's so much in horror, so I feel like I'm never bored. So yeah, and some of my favorite films, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It was the film that made me realize what I want to do. Also, Climax. I love Climax so much. Swing Girls, La La Land. Yeah, I have a very wide taste, I think.
Yeah, and it's probably worth telling the listener that where I'm definitely Gen X, you are, what are you? Are you Gen Z?
Yeah, I am. I'm like the first 2 years of Gen Z,
There you
and
go.
I
So,
hate saying it so much, but yeah.
yeah, but it's good because it means that we'll get a good representative view across the age ranges. Speaking of Scott Pilgrim, am I right in thinking you actually spoke to Edgar Wright?
Yeah, I did.
How did it go? What did you say? Like, I love you. You inspired me
I
to make
yeah,
film.
I kept it very brief because when we got into the lobby, I realized he was like with family and stuff, and I saw his wife there, who's I can't remember her name, but the producer and everything. But I was like, oh, excuse me, you Edgar Wright, and then I was just like, I just wanted to say I'm a really big fan of yours. Like, I like your works and your films kind of like made me realize what I wanted to do, and it's probably the reason why I'm here today. Just thank you. And then I was like,
Oh,
have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the film. Then I left.
did you say anything back? Did you look
Yeah,
happy?
yeah, he was very, very thankful. It's like, oh, thank you so much. That's so kind and everything. And yeah, just kept it brief. I didn't want to like take up his time.
That's very cool. I mean, like the nice thing about Edgar Wright is that he is a film fan first. I'm often at the British Film Institute Cinema in South Bank, and he's just there watching a film. He's just bought a ticket to watch a film. So
Yeah.
even though he's a BFI governor, so he can presumably get all the tickets he wants. And
Mhm.
I just feel he like it's not everyone you'd go up to, but I feel he's one of those people you can totally go up to. I'm glad it worked out. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I'm very happy I did. I'm very, very happy.
Okay, so listeners, Kai and I did an epic double bill of previews on Monday night at the BFI IMAX. So largest screen in the UK, maybe Europe, so 70 millimeter IMAX, beautiful prints. And let's start with Warfare, right? So this is a film co-directed by Alex Garland, famous for Civil War, Ex Machina, The Beach. And he's co-directed it with Ray Mendoza, who is himself an ex-US Navy SEAL who served in the Iraq War. And the film is meant to be a kind of immersive experience, pretty much of 90 minutes depicting a particular operation that went wrong for these US Navy SEALs. So you get a little bit of an intro where they're like gyrating to Eric Pride's Call Me, which is hilarious, like cold open. And you get a little bit of them sort of going to set up in this villa at night. But then really it's kind of in real time. There's no orchestral score. There's no kind of typical movie tricks. They don't have big backstories. I mean, you know who they are, but it's a very different kind of war film. How did you find it? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? You were telling me like really interesting stuff about how it's even hard to classify it or think of it as a film in some ways.
Yeah, okay. What you just said about it being like a very immersive experience, I don't think that's like now that you've said that, yeah, that's exactly it. That's like I don't like thinking of it as a film because I feel like when you say film, you kind of think entertainment in a way. I don't like seeing that as entertainment. I think it was I'm very happy I watched it and I think it's such an interesting like yeah, very immersive experience into what went on. And also yeah, I didn't realize but there was like it was very real time. I can't imagine. I don't think there
Mm.
was much like there wasn't that much cutting of time. So I feel like a lot of it was if 10 minutes have passed in the film, 10 minutes have passed like just in general. I don't. Yeah, literally. Other than saying immersive, that kind of explains it all. I don't like thinking of it in the way of like, oh, I'm going to go see that new Joseph Quinn film, that new Will Poulter film. It's not the kind of film where you think of it as a cast or a director. In my opinion, it's there and it's just an experience.
It's almost like thinking of it as a sort of like documentary recreation. And I think it's really
Yeah.
fascinating we were lucky enough to get a little, well, not even a little, it was like a 30-minute introductory Q&A where Robbie Collins, the film critic, was asking Alex Garland and two of the actors questions. So Cosmo Jarvis and Kit Connor, who
Yeah.
you all might know from Heartstoppers. And what was really interesting, he uses this terminology where he said we were technicians. So you had all these technicians behind the lens, like editor, cinematographer, and technicians in front of the lens, like not actors, but technicians, all in service of bringing this visceral experience of these Navy SEALs to you. And I thought that was just really interesting. Then, even as the actors, they weren't thinking of themselves as, okay, I need to get in character and what would be my motivation at this moment. It's just let me be in service of the story. I don't think I've ever heard of people describing a feature film in this way.
No, I'm with you. I don't think I liked it. It felt like a from how they spoke about it. Also, I've been watching a lot of interviews because I will be real. I do love the cast. Like I love them all individually. I don't like seeing it as that, but yeah,
Mm,
it seems like just from being on that set together, it seems like a very big community. Or like
mm,
in a sort of way, they seem all so close through it, and I really like that. It's none of it's nothing like, oh, this actor is very, very big. They're such a big character and everything. No, everyone is pure. Everyone's completely equal on that film. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It was just very like, it seemed like such a closed off community, and everyone knew that no one's going to be bigger than each other. It's just to get the story, like to get the story perfectly how it should
yeah.
be.
And in a way, I think that it's kind of meta, isn't it? Because I think they've created this camaraderie amongst the cast, partly by training in a boot camp. And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
perfectly captures the camaraderie of the Navy SEALs, so that there are moments where you'll see people on screen who look nervous, who are in shock, who are scared, who are frightened, particularly
yeah,
Kit Connor, who plays one of the younger, like this Tommy, it's his first go around. But when the senior officer or someone else in the troop says, go do this, they go do it, right? So it's like, if it's like, go stand outside the door of this villa and protect your fellow soldiers under huge incoming fire, ultimately they will go do it. Or go stand on the roof where we're taking fire and go defend. Like, it is amazing how it's almost like it's the message of the Navy SEALs or the message of the army, which is you sublimate your individual responses. You're so well trained that when your commanding officer says go do X, you will do it, right? So I kind of felt it was sort of like very meta in a way.
100%. I think it was very cool to hear in the in that little Q&A that they did that boot camp. I think he said it was 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just that itself, that's really cool. I think that's a really, really cool way of getting the entire cast like into not like yeah, kind of into character and understanding how this is going to go. I think
Mm.
that's such a fun like workshop to do as a director.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it pays dividends, because I think, and even that choice of that opening scene, which on one hand is like really comedy.
Yeah, I loved it.
On the other hand, it does show, because they're all cramped in this tiny little room around this shitty little crappy TV watching this like MTV music video of hot chicks, and they're probably all desperate for a shag. But you just get that sense that these are just young men. These are just boys. They're just boys with bants, and they're just kids in a way. But there's genuine friendship there, and that's what, if anything's going to get them through this horrific 90 minutes, that's what it's going to be. And I have to say, this is only a 95-minute long film. Oh man, it felt
Oh,
kind
you
of
feel
longer,
it.
but it felt longer, but
Feel
in the
every
best way.
minute.
In it, right?
Yeah.
Tension. Oh my goodness.
I think that's such the. I think that opening scene. Now thinking back on it, it's quite interesting to think that they opened with that. I feel like that's a really good start to the film to remind you, like, hey, these are like, yes, obviously everyone in this film is so serious. It's such a serious situation. They have to be like locked in at all times, but they are pretty much. They're really young.
Mm.
Like they're all just goofing around at the beginning, and like it kind of just a reminder that like, hey, these are not like they're not like the serious people you've ever met. They're just kids.
Yeah,
Well,
and I
not
guess
but
in
yeah,
a way, maybe that's what military recruiters would say. We can take you as a normal kid and elevate you into something bigger as part of the unit. But
yeah.
let's talk about that a bit, because like when I first told you about Warfare, you're like, oh, I just don't want to watch like another jingoistic military film. And I kind of felt the same way. Like, do we just want to see another film where it's rah rah, Call of Duty, aren't
Mm.
troops amazing? Look how cool they are with big muscles, like shooting stuff. And this one kind of does have some of that admiration, I feel. How do you feel it kind of walked the fine line of not glorifying them or what Iraq was, but making us like them? Or did you like them? I don't know. I mean,
I think, like I said, I don't like talking about the film being about the cast members, but I genuinely think all the performances in that film were so good, especially like
yes.
just the emotion portrayed. I think Kit Connor, you knew from like you could tell from the start he is the newcomer. You can
Yeah.
tell by his body language, his facial expressions. You can just tell. You can tell that he's completely new there. Doesn't really get what's going on. I think we spoke about it as well. Cosmo Jarvis. I think despite not saying too much in that film, like you can tell that he's a bit more experienced and everything. And I feel that with every single character, I feel like you could define each character from like their emotions alone. Like emotions,
Mm.
just everything, like how they carry themselves. That's probably the thing that got me through. Like, okay, this is how I can tell the characters apart. This is how I do really like them, and I think that is also how they kind of separated it from making like this war zone seem so like romanticized in like a video game Call of Duty way.
Yeah.
It's so heavily based around emotion, and you can get so much from these characters that you realize it is not like that. It is not like glorifying it, trying to make it seem all like cool and everything. It's horrific. It's terrifying.
So let's talk about leadership. I think a lot about leadership just from
Mhm.
my day job and what makes a good leader, what makes someone a good caretaker of people under their command. And in this case, where the stakes are so high, and I think I've loved Will Poulter since he was a kid in Son of Rambo. And he plays a character who starts off Eric as the officer in charge. I think we realize as the film goes on at some point he's injured and but he never makes a fuss. He's just very quiet with it. And then, another character played by Charles Melton, who we last saw in that film with
May December.
May December,
I
right?
love that film.
I really didn't. Anyway, that's a movie conversation for another day. But he's incredibly good here, and
Mhm.
there's a very touching moment where Eric just says, in such a quiet way, says, "You're going to have to, make the calls here because I'm not quite at it." And it's so non-melodramatic, and that's what I loved about this film is because there is so little melodrama. Like these people could be like screaming and swearing, and like in a normal war film, there would be that kind of like, bro, but
Yeah,
it's very professional. So technician is a word, but I also thought, God, these are just really well-trained professionals. Like, to not lose your
yeah,
cool. I mean, yeah, his character looks petrified, but they get it done. It's kind of admirable. So I kind of admired them as professionals, even if I didn't agree with the wider mission.
Mhm.
I think that's how I reconciled myself to it in a way. Any other
Yeah.
actors you want to shout out in particular?
Yeah, I will. I will say I did actually. Charles Melton wasn't in it too much, but I did really like him in it. I thought the moment when he was introduced like later on in the film
Mm,
and kind of took that leadership role, I think that was really cool. Will Poulter is Will Poulter. I don't need to say anything. He's always incredible, and
yeah.
especially in this film, like there's just the subtlety of his character and everything was just perfect. It was amazing to see. But yeah, I really liked it. I did really, really like the cast. Actually, they all did such a great job.
Yeah, and the technicians who recreated this scene in Iraq and recreated
Yeah.
that villa, and I just want to give a shout out actually to the sound designer, whoever that was, and
Oh
I
my.
apologize, I don't have it with me because the sound design of this film is stunning. So I would really encourage people to watch this kind of in the best quality screen you can find. Not so
Yeah.
much because the visuals are Lawrence of Arabia style, like panoramic sort of visuals, but you need the sound design to be on point.
You need a good
Yeah,
speaker.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we were lucky to watch it on IMAX, and I think um, in this kind of BFI IMAX in Waterloo in London, if people have been, it's just like about a year and a half ago had its sound system completely re-upgraded, and this was phenomenal. I think.
I found out that the sound designer was Glenn Fremantle. He also did Civil War, did Gravity.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done some big stuff.
Yeah. And Civil War is another. I mean, I absolutely adore Civil War.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Anything else you want to say about this film?
I think I've explained how I feel about it. It's
Mm.
not the kind of film you go to watch just because like that one actor's in it you like. Of course, I understand if people do that because fair enough, each their own. But for me, it's just it's an experience. That it's through and through. It's a big experience.
I agree. And I think there's something almost genius in taking us so microscopically into a particular 90 minutes in the Iraq War.
Yeah,
You never know why they're there or what the mission is, right? Like the big mission of what they're doing in this fella. And I think in a way, it's kind of like, although it's ultra microcosm, it actually gets across the point of what that war was, which was
Yeah.
a lot of trauma, a lot of destruction, and who on earth really knows why we were even there. And I think there's something by going so granular, it's actually made a really big point, which I appreciated. But Alex Garland, man, the guy's on a roll.
Yeah, he really is. I'm very. What's his next work? Oh, it's 28 years later. That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, 28 Days Later, one of my all-time favorite films. So yeah,
Amazing.
28, high expectations for 28
Yeah,
Years
me too.
Later for sure. But interesting, he didn't, he wrote it, right, but he hasn't directed that.
Yeah,
So
Danny Boyle came back to direct it. So, but I'm very happy he's
beautiful.
back writing it because yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, just go watch Devs. I love Devs. Great
Yes, I
TV
do
show.
too.
Okay, so let's rock and roll. Let's move on to the second film of the night. And I'm really, really pleased you're here for this one because, in all honesty, listener, I cannot review this film because, as you all will know, I am an absolute chicken when it comes to horror. So I forewarned Kai, and don't worry, I'm not the rudest person in the cinema. I sat right at the back of the cinema on the edge of a row so I could slip out quietly when this film went from dusk and dawn. But we are going to now talk about Sinners, which is a horror movie by Ryan Coogler, who I mean, like, what a director. He's not yet 40, as he said when he introduced it. And he's put 5 major films in international cinema. I think he started with Fruitvale Station, really gorgeous indie film. He's done the Rocky spin-off Creed. He's done Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. And he's come back with this film, which is a kind of vintage set in the kind of the deep south of the 1930s. This is Al Capone era. This is Prohibition. This is Ku Klux Klan lynching people. And it's this epic, panoramic, beautiful film shot simultaneously the first time ever in Panavision and IMAX. So we were lucky to see one of, I think it's like 10 or 12 IMAX 70mm prints that exist in the world. And we were also lucky enough to watch it on the night of its European premiere and to get an introduction from director writer Ryan Coogler, but also his longtime collaborator and composer Ludwig Göransson, who's just hot off winning a Oscar. And he was there with Papa Ludwig, who apparently was a famous blues guitarist and taught baby Ludwig how to play blues guitar. This is a film where the music is in huge dialogue with the plot. But you watched the whole thing. So what did you make of Sinners?
We just talk about music because you just
Yeah.
brought that up and it's fresh in my mind. Okay, Sinners through and through. It's a rock opera.
Mm.
It's so the music is obviously like as the film continues, it gets a bit quicker. Like things like start a lot more starts happening. If you've seen the trailer, like you'll know what's gonna happen. But obviously the music's gonna pick up because more action happens, and that's when it comes in. So in like our opening little Q&A, Ludwig was saying that blues and like metal have so much in common, and then you could really hear where like the blues starts to slip in and like the metal comes in. And I also love metal music, so it's kind of like it's very very helpful for me. But yeah, the music itself just carries it so well, and then you also have the cinematography. Like yeah, we did see it in IMAX 70mm, so we saw like such a beautiful print of it. But the cinematography itself is insane. The colors are so vibrant, and it's just it's like it's set on this landscape as well of like the deep south. Oh, it's perfect. It's just it brings out everything so well. It makes it look so picturesque. And then the performances as well. Performances are incredible. Michael B. Jordan, as per usual, he killed it. Like I really enjoyed just getting to know the characters that he plays. I don't remember the name of the lead. I can't even remember the character's name. Oh my god.
What, Sammy?
That's it, Sammy. Yeah, him as
He's
well.
played by Miles Caton.
This is his first. This is like his debut, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, incredible. He again, you see him come out of his shell like as the film goes on, and he was incredible. Like there's an amazing scene, maybe halfway in, with him performing like a full song. He's amazing. Like just the music itself was so good, and you really see where all of these influences were drawn in terms of like music and just sound design.
Yeah, I
But
suspect they cast him because he is known more as a musician. He's
oh
an R&B
really?
musician. His background is in gospel, and This film is about music, so let's explain to the listener that Michael B. Jordan plays two characters. They are twin brothers, Smoke and Stack, so they're the Smokestack twins. We're taken to understand that they have made a bunch of money working for Al Capone in Chicago. They've come back down south to Louisiana, where this film is shot in location. And they've used that money to buy an old sawmill that they're going to open as a juke joint. So a little bit like Warfare, where you have the kind of the preamble, and then you have kind of, this is all taking place in 24 hours. So basically, you see them during the daytime trying to get musicians and spread the word that there's going to be a big opening night at the sawmill. So they're gathering up musicians, including their little nephew, Sammy, who is an amazing blues guitarist and singer. And they pick up an amazing harmonica player played by Delroy Lindo. I mean, my God, even the bit I saw, I was just like, give this man an Oscar right now. Amazing. They're getting food, they're getting supplies from the Chinese people who run the grocery in town, and they're gathering people up. And then obviously as dusk turns to nightfall, it does get a little bit dusk till dawn, which is basically, the town's clansmen and racists coming after the people. But there's kind of like a musical battle, right, between the blues, which is seen as the sinful music, like the music of lust and expressing sorrow and hopelessness and forlornness in this racist deep south, and then the music of the gospel church and faith and being hopeful and putting your hope on God. So there's kind of like this battle over the soul of the black people in the movie. Like, are you going to go for God, or are you going to go for the sinners music? So is that, I don't know, like, given how the film turns out, so is that an accurate kind of description of the premise?
I think so. The first half of the film, yes, that's very much more like that's kind of what the film is about. It's just, do we want to continue doing this, or do we want to like stay with what we know? But as the film continues, the idea is kind of dropped in a way. Like, it's not dropped.
Okay.
It's like the idea is still in the background. Like, you still know it's there, but it doesn't seem to be as much of a priority, which I think is
That's
fine.
a shame.
I think it would have been more interesting to see it played up a bit more, I think, especially with how the film opens. And I think the idea would have been cool to see just throughout the film, but then the end, just like, not the end, but like the final maybe third of the film does become so action-packed and so crazy that like I kind of understand where they might not have been able to put it in, but it would have been very interesting to see it.
Did it hold your attention then, as it went from sort of almost one tone and concern to being more action packed, and Michael B. Jordan kicking ass in various ways?
It 100% did, yeah. It did keep my attention. I will say, so the first half and the second half are very different. The first half, as you saw, was like, going around the town. You kind of understand what all the characters are and like what their deal is, what's their whole agenda. Obviously, as the film continues, that's not really prioritized as much. So I will say I preferred the first half. The action itself, it's like, you could honestly say it's almost like two separate films. Like, not in a way where the story is like fragmented at all. It's just so like the tone is so different. But I still loved it. I just think everything that was set up in the first half, it would have been interesting to see if they could have extended that in the second half, but they kind of went in a slightly different route. But still very good. It still holds up. And yeah, it's a very good blend.
Yeah, I will go back and watch it maybe when it's in streaming, and I can watch it in daylight so it feels safer, and I know exactly when I've ruined myself thoroughly on the plots and nothing can jump scare. Because I mean, like, there's literally jump scares a little bit in the opening scene, right, with Sammy. So
Yeah, that
I mean,
opening scene, yeah.
Yeah, and then it calms down a bit, and then like it was getting all like snaky, and then like the sunset, and I was like, oh, shit's gonna go down. So yeah, I bugged out. I'm not good with this stuff. But there's amazing musicians all through this. Buddy Guy, the actual blues guitarist, shows up at the end. We have a sort of like a preacher called Jedediah, who's played by Saul Williams, who the people of my generation will know him very much as a kind of absolute sort of alt hip hop rapper, poet. Like, he's an amazing musician. So it feels like Ryan Coogler has really put effort into gathering up some talent into this film. And I just always love to see Michael B. Jordan in anything. He's another guy like Will Poulter. Like I watched him for the first time when he was almost like a preteen in the TV show The Wire. So I'm one of those annoying Gen Xers who'll shout out, "Where's Wallace?" whenever I see him on the screen, which I'm sure he really hates when he walks down the road and people go, "Where's Wallace?" But so I feel almost like personally invested in his career journey. And I think he can do everything, right? He can do drama, he can do romance, he can do physical, and he's playing two characters and they are delineated, right? Smoke and Stack. You've got one who's a little bit cheekier, a little bit kind of more mischief, and the other one who's more of a family man with some deep hurt in his heart. And
I did like that. He did a
yeah.
very good job at like keeping them completely separate. There was no moment where I felt like that's the same. Like there's no point in the film where I'm like that's the same guy. They are so different, and he keeps it like that the whole time. He's such a good actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Although they do helpfully color coded at the start, right? Because one
Oh yeah, I was
blue
going to
cap,
say
red hat
that.
thing. There is some helpful stuff going on. It's a
Yeah.
little bit like when you watch Alto Nights, where Robert De Niro plays two roles, but they're not twins. There's no need for him to play two roles. So a lot of people have criticized him for it, and he kind of plays one as himself and one as Joe Pesci. People have hated that film, but I actually quite liked it. I might review that because I think it needs a bit of love. But this is a tour de force performance. Even like one of the opening shots where they're kind of leaning on their truck and they pass back a cigarette back and forth.
Oh, that shot is beautiful.
And I'm just like, Ryan Coogler, you're just showing off because you could pull this off, right? Like technically to have the actor pass himself a cigarette back and forth. It's and the costumes, whoever did costume design, beautiful. Very, very handsome film. Ryan Coogler said at the start, didn't he, that he remembers growing up in the 90s in Oakland back when it was pre-gentrified and poor and going to the cinema being this epic thing. And, in those days, black people, you could talk to the cinema, you could holler at it, don't go into the room. And he said he made this film because he wants to get people who fell out of the habit of going to the cinema in the pandemic and, young kids who are socially isolated, always on their phone, like to give them event cinema, to get them back in the cinema, holler at the screen, have a good time. Do you think he pulled it off?
Absolutely. The whole time throughout the film, I had this one thing that he said in my head on repeat. It was him saying, "It's not a love letter to movies; it's a love letter to going to the movies."
Yes.
And the whole time I'm watching that, I'm like, "Yes, yeah, I fully get it." And obviously, that's going to be heightened because the screening we were at was like the first screening in Europe, and everyone was so like not loud, but there was just like everyone was so happy to watch it, and there were moments where things would happen, people started cheering or clapping.
Oh, fantastic!
And it's just I think it really is like such a good film to go and see in cinema. This is the sort of film you don't want to miss. Like it's such a this is event cinema at its finest. Like there is this really cool moment where the aspect ratio changes from being like the basic letterbox and then go to the wide IMAX, like different aspect ratio
So
camera.
from the Panavision.
Yeah. And the moment where like the black bars will start like disappearing is so cool. And it's in that moment you're like, oh my god, something big's gonna happen. And it is event cinema through and through. It's amazing.
Cinema be cinema. So gather up your friends, go see it on a big badass screen. You have a choice. I think the Panavision version is the one you're going to see in most conventional cineplexes. You can try and seek it out in the IMAX format if you want to get all that saturated, close focus movie goodness. So something I'm just in appreciation of any film director who's going back to using film with a technical appreciation of what it can do. And apparently the release of this film got delayed because they ran out of film stock. So
oh my god,
it switched opening weekends with Mickey 17 because when they were in post-production, they needed more film stock. So, I mean, God bless directors who keep literal film alive. Any last thoughts? Anything else you want to say about Sinners?
I think just everything we just said. Sinners is such a must-watch in cinema. Like you have to see it on the big screen. You just got to sit down, watch it. You'll love it. It's beautiful. Yeah. Also, like I know I spoke about the music before, but seriously, the music itself is so incredible and it's so amazing. Like I think Ludwig's last film was Oppenheimer. It's so insane to see everything that was done in Oppenheimer, to how wildly different it is, but still so fitting and perfect. And yeah, this is another film where I think you need good speakers. You need to appreciate that music and the sound design like in full.
Yeah,
It's
we were
incredible.
lucky to have both in the IMAX. I think it was like
Yeah.
optimal experience. I am so excited. Like I said at the start of this episode, that it's kind of a weird moment in the cinema calendar where, you know, last year's big films have all happened and we're waiting for Cannes to sort of kick
Yeah.
off the next year. And it's kind of cool to get these two really worthy, amazing films that are coming out on the same weekends. They both come out April 18th. They're both rated 15, actually, although for different reasons. And I just feel like the movie gods are good to us right now. Like, this is good movie going.
Something I'm maybe a little worried about. So I know films that come out in like this sort of time period, so like March and April. I know they're often like maybe not often, maybe it's just happens to be my preference in the last couple of years. But films like that come out in this sort of time period are always, in my opinion, forgotten when it comes to awards.
Absolutely.
I really like this or Warfare. I don't want to see that happen this year. I feel like it deserves something, and I really hope that these both like carry their weight through the year, and people realize like, oh my god, we just got this before we go into like all the big award films coming out.
I agree. Warfare feels like such an award. And the only thing that gives me a bit of hope is A24 is pretty good at the kind of awards season marketing campaign. But
Yeah,
then I
they're good for
also,
their marketing.
you know, they'll do it proud. But I've got this awful feeling that it will end up with like technical nominations, if at all, like sound design, production design, and it won't get, because there's not, who do you propose as best actor or supporting actor? And yet I
Yeah,
think
no,
it's
you're
so
right.
strong. I think it's so strong. It's such a complete. I would almost love to see it some nominated for best director or
I was about to say
co-directors,
that. Yeah, it'd
because
be
it's such
interesting to
a
see them get it.
complete vision of what. Yeah, but you're right. This is the kind of awards season kind of graveyard, I think, for releases, unless something is really strong and can maintain momentum.
This better get nominated for sound design. That's what I'm really after.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
yeah, and Sinners, I just think, I don't know. I mean, like certainly score. I would love to see I would love to see this get nominated, but I just feel it's a little bit trapped. It's going to be trapped in being a genre film, and you're a horror fan, so you're going to know, right? It's very hard to win. Look at
actually,
Substance. It's very hard to break out of genre
yeah,
categories. Demi Moore was so popular and she still couldn't flip and win. And the irony of a film about older women being sort of overlooked for younger, new, hot things, and she loses out to
yeah.
Mikey Madison, who was amazing in Anora, but I kind of felt like, oh man, the meta text is strong with this one.
They're just reminding me talking about like the technical awards. Something I completely forgot to say about Sinners. The editing is so interesting. I think the editing is what makes it a horror, if anything.
Wow. Okay.
Like that's probably the thing that I'd say. I don't know if this will get completely like put into the horror genre, because I think firstly the performances are so interesting. Like everything the film has to say, like I wouldn't say it's fully a horror at times, but it's the editing that really makes it into a horror. Yeah, a jump scare is a jump scare, but they're so interestingly edited, in my opinion. And like as the film gets on, like later, especially with all the like the camera movement gets a bit like crazy, and it's edited in such an interesting way that I hope people pick up on it at least. And yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah. And in a way, the best horror, why horror is compelling and why horror lasts is because the best of horror speaks to our times and says something important, right? And I
Yeah,
think this, especially the bit that I watched, the first half, is kind of more political commentary.
yeah, it has a lot to say.
It has a lot to say, and Michael B. Jordan is doing a lot with his performances. So yeah, let's hope, and let's hope it makes serious bank. I mean, the budget on this was insane. They shot it all live in Louisiana. Apparently, I think the budget was like 90 to 100 mil, but with marketing, they need to take 180 million to break even. So
Yeah, they need to.
but you give the studios Black Panther, you're allowed, it's like one for you, one for me. You get to do that, right? So let's hope it really makes some money. And then I think it will stick in people's minds, because obviously the Oscars now has that best film category that's expanded to include basically big commercial hits like Wicked last year. So maybe this will get a shout out.
I hope so.
I hope so. But anyway, there you go, listeners. We've given you hopefully a compelling conversation about two really very different, but both cracking films that both really deserve your attention and both deserve to be seen in cinemas with really good sound and really good screens. So, whatever you're watching this weekend, I hope you have fun. Feel free to drop a comment on the YouTube channel or Bina007.com. And thank you so much, Kai, for joining. It's so much nicer talking to someone about this stuff.
Yeah, I was a bit nervous at first because I'm like, oh, okay, what do I feel? But no, it's really nice to just talk about films, especially when they're so fresh in your mind. It's so nice to like just put everything down and yeah.
Well, you're welcome back anytime, mate. And
Thank you.
yeah, anyway, have fun, listeners. Enjoy what you watch. Come on the Arsenal tonight, and we'll speak to you all soon. Have a good one. Bye.
Goodbye.